exciting bringing you another stimulating conversation here on the Meet Your Mentor TV show. The Meet Your Mentor TV show is an educational television program for the youth across Africa. It's an initiative that provides young adults with the necessary skills, experiences, knowledge, and connections to build a good career. And I'm your proud host. My name is Adelaide Asante. Today, I'm honored to be speaking to a woman who's doing exploits within the sciences. I'll tell you more about her, but after this break. You're welcome back. Steven Spielberg says that the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not to create them in your own image. It is to give them the opportunity to create themselves. Today, I'm honored to be speaking to Miss Adelaide Asante. She's the COO of AIMS, the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. She was the former Director of Science, Technology and Innovation at the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation. Please help me welcome Miss Adelaide Asante. Hello. You're welcome to the show. Please have a seat. Yeah. Ms. Asante, I'm so glad that you could join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Right. As one of the women in a relatively difficult area for women, you know, what kind of education did you have? And how has that contributed to making you the woman you are today?
Yeah, my education was as normal as any Ghanaian. I started my education at UCC, nursery, primary, secondary, junior high, and then secondary. So I went to University Practice Secondary School. Right. It was at secondary school that I did science, but I was naturally good at mathematics. Okay. And of course, I think science as well. But when you're in the basic level, you don't really have the choices. All you want to do is be first or second or third. Yeah. So it was in secondary school that I ended up doing science. After BEC, I scored good grades enough to do science. I must say at that time, I was interested in science, but like most Ghanaian children, I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. And so naturally again, in the senior high school, I completed and was able to gain admission to KNUST. So it was at senior high school that I had a choice of, I started forming my career path, not necessarily still concretizing it, but I knew I wanted to still do things within the sciences. So it was either to do medicine or the biological sciences, or to do the hardcore physical sciences, that is the engineering. Right. And I must say that secondary school, I kind of noticed that I wasn't so good in biology. I would pass, but it wasn't really my favorite subject. So I was more inclined to the physics, chemistry, and elective maths. And it made it easier for me to go and do engineering, choose engineering. So I did agriculture engineering in KNUST. And right after, 2 years later, I went to Germany to do my master's in resources engineering, which is a branch of civil engineering. Right.
I'd like you to tell us what you do at AIMS.
So AIMS, as you said, is the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. It's a center of excellence based in 5 African countries. Right. South Africa, Ghana, Senegal, Rwanda, and Cameroon. AIMS is a brainchild of our founder, Neil Turek, a South African who won Nobel laureate, I think somewhere in 2000, and decided to dedicate his award to find the next Einstein. So at AIMS, our slogan is the Next Einstein Initiative. And he had a simple thing. We all finish and want to go and study abroad. Why do we want to go and study abroad? Because you think, and actually, most often the best education is out there. So in terms of the best lecturers, the best infrastructure, everything. And he's like, what can I do to create the same feeling, the same kind of standard here, but towards a particular area that Africa is lacking, that is mathematical sciences. So AIM simply, we bring the best students across Africa together in one room, bring the best lecturers across the world together to come and teach our students.
That's some good work AIMS is doing.
Yeah.
Is this usually on a scholarship scheme?
Yes, AIMS is a fully funded institution. So anybody who comes to AIMS is fully funded. From funding includes your feeding, your accommodation. There's no tuition fee. In fact, the lecturers that we bring on board don't charge us. This is their contribution to society. Right. So we can have a lecturer from Cambridge, from MIT, come in volunteering his time to teach, and we give the students stipends. The goal, as I said, is to give the best education, but at a very, very cheaper cost. So you don't need to fly out there, look for scholarship, for accommodation, hustle, feeding yourself. Yeah. But you can still do everything here, get the same quality of education here.
What has been the impact of your work?
So I'll relate it more especially to here. Okay. Of course, our impact is global. AIMS has trained with the 5 centers. The first AIMS center was South Africa. It was established in 2002. AIMS Ghana was established in 2012. So we are relatively still a young institution compared to the universities of Ghana or Pretoria universities and others. But our impact is great. Since our first center to date, we have trained over 2,000 students. As I said, it's a fully funded, so we don't, based on the funding is what we admit. I mean, we don't admit a lot of people. But in Ghana alone, since 2012, we've trained over 320, and it will be, by the end of this year, we'll be chunking about 400 students who have graduated at a postgraduate level. Let me just say, I didn't mention, AIMS is a postgraduate institution. All right. So we train only masters and PhD and MPhil students. All right. And so we've trained more than 300 graduates in the mathematical sciences from more than 24 African countries. In Ghana, let me just tell you something. In my previous work at the ministry, as a director in charge of science and technology, gathering data in terms of our STEM capacity, our human capacity in terms of science and technology and engineering and mathematics. I noticed that I think until maybe the past 2 or 3 years, our mathematics professors in the country were all above 60. And some were above 65 that they were supposed to retire. But they were still there. That meant that we needed that critical mass of people to train our students. You know, mathematics is everywhere. Yes. I mean, if you did journalism, I'm sure you learned mathematics. So if we have that gap as a country, that is not good. It took University of Ghana 50 to 60 years to graduate one PhD. Yes, in math? In mathematics. And he is incidentally our center president, Dr. Prince Osei. Wow. And with AIMS since AIMS Ghana, I mean, I'm not even talking about AIMS, the whole network. AIMS Ghana currently has already graduated one PhD and 14 MPhil students. And in the next year, we'll graduate about 5 more PhDs. So it's a great fiat that we have achieved and a great impact that we are making.
Right. Your point brings me to my question. There obviously is a gap, and this is in 2 parts. Number one, why do you think there are not a lot of women in this venture? Because, I mean, you look at a typical science and math class, and there are just a few women. So what do you think the problem is? Is this something in our genetic build that, you know, disposes us more to the arts than the sciences? What do you think the issue is?
You know, fundamentally, science is underpinned by mathematics. Right. And we all know that for a long time, the mode of teaching of mathematics had been scary even to the men, much more as women. So first and foremost, it was thought as a difficult subject. And if you are not good in math, you cannot do any sciences. And then also, in terms of our cultural approach, anything difficult, your parents will encourage, or most parents, I won't say your parent, but most parents will encourage, oh, that's too difficult. Choose one that is easier for you, one that will make you balance your life easily. You can have children. You'll be studying too hard, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, that has been, and also, we have not, as a country, make a conscious effort to bring in the gender balance in most of our things. Of course, currently, there are a lot of reforms that are ongoing.
Right.
But I think that they say it's never too late, better late than never anyway. But these are, I think, factors that have contributed to females not venturing.
We'll go for this short commercial break. When we come back, we'll go into the journey of Miss Asante more. You're welcome back from that break. My name is Daniela. This is the Meet Your Mentor TV show. I'm having a conversation with Miss Adelaide Asante, who's the COO of the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Ghana. Thank you once again for joining us. So, tell us, has there been any really low points within your journey? And how have you moved on from that?
Oh, yeah. I can talk about my academic life. Yeah, I have had some low points. I remember my first year in the university, doing engineering and handling with all the tough courses, first year students, in any subject, but much more those of us doing engineering, all the engineering mathematics and mechanics of machines and all of that. And then also being told that if you trail 4 papers,
you're out of the
you're
university.
out, you know. And I have always been that kind of person who also likes to do other things. So in my first year, as I was studying, I was also dabbling in campus activities.
Okay.
Like Miss KNUST, organizing Miss KNUST. I was on the organizing committee. And the prize I paid was
huge.
Huge. That is, I trailed 4 papers, including my favorite engineering mathematics.
Wow.
Yeah. But, you know, I remember, I have really not shared this story much with people. I remember having to stay back and rewrite the 4 papers. And I could not, I thought of it, I said, no, maybe I would go home and come back the following year. And, you know, when you're that young, you're like, okay, you go home, you're going to tell your dad what? And then the following year, my sister was going to enter the university. So my father would be like, no. And so I was contemplating. Incidentally, I got called by the Dean of the College of Engineering, who was the late Professor Andam. And he called, usually, apparently that was the way he would call those who had difficulty in passing. So he sat down with me and he said, but you came a good student, you look like, and there were other courses that I really, really passed, but how come you had these ones? And then I just couldn't give him any answer. And all I said was, would I be given an opportunity to restart again? Right. And he said, no, you rewrite it. And I rewrote, and I passed all with flying colors. I mean, my average then was below 40, and I came up to 50-something.
In all of this, what was your support system, or what is your support system?
You know, I would say, I would love to say that my support system was my family, but I wouldn't say in some, of course, in some other situations, when you have a family like the one I have that is always there when it comes to education, because my father supported me even when I had to call him and say, I'm not coming home to Cape Coast for this vacation, I want to stay, me paying extra accommodation and extra stipends for you to live there was supportive. But in terms of it, I think I would say that moment the kind of support I got from Professor Adam, encouragement, it is very important.
Yes.
You know, so I would say that that kind of environment for me was supportive. I also had a couple of friends who were very encouraging. They were like, you know, some of them stayed behind to be with me, or go and come and teach me, you know, be my study partner, because if you don't have people who are going to study with you in the university, it's tough.
If you were to share with us 3 lessons that you've picked up throughout your journey, what would they be?
Perseverance is one key, you know, lesson that, I mean, never give up.
Right.
Also patience. You know, I noticed in my life that sometimes we want things so badly, but it may not be the right time, and you need to give yourself time for it.
Right.
And also being truthful to yourself, to your colleague, and to everybody that you meet.
Perseverance, patience, and being true to yourself. Tell us, what are you most proud of? If you were recounting your journey thus far, and you wanted to pick out one thing that you were most proud of, what would that be?
That's tough, because I've had very many proud moments. I must say, I thank God for that. Most of my life has been spent, my working life has been spent working with the government. Working in the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, which is the ministry that is the least understood. And I know I'm going to sound controversial, but we are the least understood ministry, because people do not know that both environment and science, technology, and innovation are cross-cutting. Right. When I say cross-cutting, it means that unlike Ministry of Roads, they have their work cut out. Yeah? You talk of Ministry of Tourism, you have your work cut out. But Ministry of Science or an environment, its environment features in every ministry, every sector. Yeah. I mean, we talk about if the environment is not mining, we are there. Road, we are there. You know, tourism, we are there. Yes, everywhere. The same with science and technology. You know, in every sector of the economy, science and technology feature. But working there for me was very exciting, and I had a lot of proud moments. I'll recount my first proud moment for me when I was able to work with the minister to launch the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute. It was a center and now an institute. Because I remember being a young officer, and I was incidentally thrown into the portfolio of science and technology very young, and with no sort of a lot of people around working in that field. There were a lot of people in the ministry, but most of them were working towards the environment aspect of the ministry. So I was sort of a lone person working. And I remember one day sitting with the minister and telling her, it was then Madam Sheriaite, telling her that, I mean, we need to Ghana has nuclear research center, that is Ghana Atomic Energy. We have a number of CSR institutes building a road research. But when it comes to space science, we do not have. And we had projects that we were partnering with other African countries in terms of space science. And so, can we have an institute or an agency like that? And she's like, yeah, go ahead, let's work. And we, working with Professor Lotte and the team at Ghana Atomic Energy, who were willing to work with the ministry at that time to establish. And lo and behold, in 2012, we launched the Ghana Space. At the launch, for me, was one of my proud moments. Years later, in 2017, we also launched the Radio Astronomy Observatory, which is a research facility that looks into space, researching in astronomy. For me, it was very proud, especially at the launch when we had Dr. Abekluche, who works at NASA. We invited him and he came, and in his speech, talking about when he was a young boy in Ghana, wanted to do space, and there was no opportunity, and he's happy and proud that Ghana is taking a step. For me, it was, as a policy person, as a backbencher.
Right.
It was very proud. I was
Yes.
very, very proud about
Yes.
this.
Because you've been able to leave something for posterity.
Yeah.
If you were given the opportunity to speak to the 20-year-old you, what would you tell her?
Patience.
It's very important for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, just, yeah, my 20-year-old me was still a naive person, but I think that I would say to her that in God's own time, He makes everything beautiful and perfect. Because if I remember, yes, 20 years, at 20, I would have just was about to enter the university because we were the ones that had to do, we had, when you finished, we were the ones waiting to get to the university. We had to do an extra entrance exams.
Okay.
Yes, it was those period that when you finished, you had to wait
1 year.
1 year to 2 years,
Okay.
because I finished 2 years almost to get to the university. So it was just about the time I was entering the university, and I had my whole life ahead of me, and I sort of had so much expectations and thought that life is just like you write and you get. I want like a wish list,
Yes.
you know, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And so, and I would have also perhaps given myself the opportunity to know other subjects than the sciences.
Right.
more.
Okay.
Because I was more engrossed in the science than the other subjects.
Well, the science is very demanding, so I think it's fine that you give it all you had.
Yeah.
This has been an exciting conversation. We have some questions for you, so we'll take a few questions from our audiences.
Please, I want to ask you, you were determined and hardworking. Will you perfectly, or can you boldly say you were disciplined throughout your academic work?
No, not throughout. I was disciplined, but not throughout. Because if I told you that I trailed 4 papers at some point, it meant that I was not all the time disciplined. It was about finding the balance, you know. And so being disciplined sometimes also requires you not to also leave other things. Because sometimes you can be very, very disciplined and you realize that you've also not been giving yourself the opportunity to learn other things. Yes, I would say I was disciplined when it comes to going to lectures. I never miss lectures. I was disciplined when it comes to learning. Yes, I would study. But I think that I was also not balancing a lot of things, you know, because at some point when I got distracted a bit into getting into campus activity, I had not found that level where I can balance my school versus extracurricular activities, you know.
Thank you. And at a point in time, was it at a point in time that you felt you have to go back, or you had a friend who advised you to stop the course because you were facing a lot of challenges, like, as you said, you failed 4 courses and you have to rewrite it, and you thought of it twice that you either go to the house and then come the next year, or...
No, I think I didn't get any friend that discouraged me. Everybody was supportive. More for me, anytime I felt that way of the discouragement was more on a personal struggle within me, you know, because as I said, it was the first time in my life that I had failed that failure, you know. And I think everybody needs to get to that level, because if you don't get there, you don't become a better person.
Right.
And it has contributed a lot to me now in my whole life, because subsequently, I never took failure in terms of even my personal life. If I want to do something, if I want to a couple of years ago, I was thinking I want to do a PhD, but life, it hasn't happened yet. And it will definitely happen. But I haven't been hard on myself, you know. I know that I persevere. So I think if I had quit, if I'd gone back, it would have been the starting point of a quitter. Anytime you face a challenge, you feel like going to start again. But life is not like that. It doesn't. It's a journey. And you don't need to pause or go back. You can never go back when you are taking a journey. If you are traveling from here to Kumasi and you reach in Koko and there is a blockade, do you come back to Accra when you have people waiting for you at Kumasi? You have to either find a way going round to get. So for me, I think it was a lesson that was good for me.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asante, for joining us. This has been an absolute honor. We're glad that you could share your story with us. If you haven't picked anything at all from today's conversation, it is patience. Be patient with yourself. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Meet Your Mentor. My name is Daniela. I have been your host, and I've been speaking to Miss Adelaide Asante, who's the CEO of the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. Thank you so much to Central University Mataheko campus for giving us the opportunity to do this. We'll come your way same time next week with another stimulating conversation. Until then, do take care.